Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well today. In case you didn't catch my video about this earlier, I just wanted to say thank you again for subscribing to my channel. I'm still collecting questions right now for my Q&A video, so if you have anything you'd like to ask me, please do so. This month was a real test of the limits of my budget. I used most of my hobby money on a scale figure as well as a special book set, so I couldn't buy that many other books. For an avid reader such as myself, that was such a heavy blow because I quickly ran out of new things to read. But we must be resourceful, so I did a lot of rereading this month, which was fun in its own way. All of that aside, the quantity of books in a haul means nothing. It's all about the quality, and I think this month was pretty good in terms of that. Without further ado, let's talk about all of the new books in my collection. Up first, I picked up volume 1 of the new omnibus edition of Noragami by Adachi Toka. I have nothing to say for myself. As some of you know, I absolutely love Noragami. In many ways, this manga has saved my life. So naturally, I want to give the authors as much of my support, aka as much of my money, as possible. Aside from my undying love for this manga, I mostly just picked it up out of curiosity. Would the trim size be larger? Would the paper feel as nice? I still prefer the singles only because I love having dozens of colorful spines to make my bookshelf look prettier, but I actually prefer the larger trim size of the omnibus edition. Noragami has some beautiful art and it deserves to be seen in as large of a format as possible. Because I'm weak, I probably will continue to buy both the singles and the omnibuses. I can't help it. I love this manga, and I'm really excited to reread it in this larger trim size. Up next, I picked up volume 3 of the manga adaptation of The Case Files of Julia Richard by Akatsuki Mika, Sujimura Naruko, and Yukihiro Utako. Even though it's only been a few weeks since I picked up volume 2, it felt like I waited forever for this volume. Basically, I was so impatient. I needed more. I even daydreamt about what gemstones we'd explore this time. I was that hyped, and when this book arrived, I dove into it right away. A surprise to no one, especially not to myself. This volume was amazing from the get-go. I loved it so much. I feel giddy knowing that the story has been so consistently good this entire time. As always, I adore Seigi and his empathy. He is so good. I really admire how he's able to understand someone's true feelings and not judge them at all. That radical acceptance is so crucial, and I admire his character a lot for it. The Cat's Eye Gemstone story was so good. I really loved Hajime. He was so cute, and I totally agree with one of the messages in that story, that it really is hard to express how we feel sometimes. But of course, unless we make that effort to express ourselves better, people are going to misunderstand what we say. I did think it was interesting how Seigi, or the author really, mentioned that this was something he noticed more often in men. Each volume of this manga just makes me so happy. Every chapter leaves me with a renewed vigor and admiration for life itself. There are so many beautiful moments and people out there, and I love how this manga explores all of the incredibly gentle and important relationships there are between people through the lens of gemstones. The ability of gems to bring people together, as Richard said. The story about garnets honestly left me feeling so refreshed and motivated. This manga feels like free therapy sometimes. It is so comforting and moving. When Richard said, "It matters not which path led you to your decision, but having the courage to take action is worthy of his respect," I felt that. He is so great. I'm not at a point in my life where I think gemstones could comfort me, or I could even cherish a gemstone, but reading this manga genuinely makes me want to learn more about them. I would love to buy a gem of my own one day, but it's not like Richard can sell me one. I am still so curious about what he's gone through in life, and I love how this volume gave us a small glimpse of that. Overall, I loved it so much. I love this manga so much. I really want to give myself a pat on the back for blindly picking it up one day. Who would have guessed that this random pickup would improve my life this much? This grateful feeling just makes me appreciate books even more. There are so many good stories out there. On to some Korean works. Up first, I picked up Volume 1 of On or Off by A1. This is a physical edition of a Korean webcomic. I've actually tried reading this manhwa a few times on Tappytoon, but I really couldn't get into it. I think I never made it past the first couple chapters, but this manhwa is so popular and so loved in the BL community, so I really wanted to give it another shot when I heard about Tokyopop printing it. I also thought that buying a physical copy would be a nice way to support more manhwa being printed in the future. Honestly, after starting this story again, I couldn't believe that I ever had trouble with this manhwa. This volume was so good and I couldn't put it down at all. Anyeong is so cute and funny, Kang Dae-hyung is so hot and cool, the size kink, the age gap, a workplace setting. What a delightful blend. Anyway, I really enjoyed this first volume. I was smiling the whole time. Do you ever get that wonderful feeling of reading something so good that suddenly life itself feels good too? That's how I felt. The only thing I don't really like about On or Off is the muted coloring. I know a lot of people are fans of it, but personally I like it when webcomics are vibrantly colored. Again, obviously that's just a personal preference and not relevant to the quality of the story itself. I'm really tempted to continue the story on Tappytoon because I can't wait for the next physical volume to come out, but I shall try to be patient. I'm so glad I gave this manhwa another chance. It just goes to show that sometimes we just gotta be in the right mood to start a new story. And before I forget, wow, Tokyopop totally blew me away with the quality of this book. It's amazing, and I really love how heavy it is. In general, I also really love seeing how webcomics are transformed into physical books. I've heard countless accounts from authors about how time-consuming that editing process is, and seeing the final product always blows me away. Up next, I picked up Volume 1 of Love is an Illusion by Fargo, another manhwa I bought just to support more physical manhwa in the future. In this case, however, I've actually finished the main story on Legend. I don't remember many of the specific plot points in this manhwa, but I do remember thinking this story was just okay. And oh my, when I got this book in the mail the other day, I asked myself, why did I buy this again? As in, why would I double dip on a series I don't absolutely love? Such is life sometimes. Since I have the book anyway, and since 7 Seas already has my monetary support, I decided to reread it. And lo and behold, I actually had a lot of fun with it. I do think Haesung is still pretty annoying, but I empathized with his character a lot more this time around. Life has not been easy for him, and it's not a surprise that he'd lash out the way that he did. I still do think the series is overall just okay, but I'm glad I gave it another shot. I probably won't buy the next volumes though, and will continue my reread on Legend. I think all 3 of the manhwa 7 Seas licensed recently are from Legend, and if they're going to keep that up, there are so many of my favorite manhwa on that platform that I hope they'll license next. I also picked up the new artbook edition of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint by Xing Xiong. I made a separate video about this a few days ago if you want to see these books and the merch in depth. Alongside the Xiedian scale figure, this bad boy ate up my entire book budget for the month. It was so expensive, and I'm still trying to rationalize the price in my head, but forget that. Look at how freaking huge these books are. And not only are they huge, but they look and feel amazing. The dent to my wallet aside, I'm glad I picked it up. Even if Omniscient Reader gets licensed in English, I doubt we'll ever get such a beautiful hardback edition for it. I love books in all shapes and formats, but there's still something so special about seeing books treated so well. Like, yeah, good stories deserve to be printed beautifully. The one thing I still don't really understand is why it's called the artbook edition. There was no art in the book, so I'm not sure what they meant by that. It did not detract from the set at all though. Also, a funny aside, my whole family is aware that I really enjoy language learning, and every now and then, my parents will actually try testing me to see whether or not I'm actually retaining things. And recently, they actually had me read this book out loud to them, which was honestly a little nerve-wracking, but also very funny of them. I also picked up Volume 4 of Heaven Official's Blessing by MXTX. Let us admire this amazing cover, shall we? I adore it. Unfortunately, I haven't cracked into this one yet. I recently started rereading The Scum Villain Self-Saving System and Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, and alongside all of the manga and webcomics I'm also reading, I did not prioritize Heaven Official's Blessing, which does make me a little sad. Hopefully things will simmer down in the next few weeks and I can continue rereading it. Up next, I picked up Look Back by Fujimoto Tatsuki. This manga, oh my goodness. This manga completely rocked my world. I originally picked it up because I thought the cover was really pretty, and I thought the premise sounded interesting. I really like stories about the arts and creating, so this sounded right up my alley. If I had to sum it up, I think this manga perfectly exemplifies just how freaking cool manga as a medium is. I love how the passage of time was depicted, the many repeated panels of Fujino's back, even the detail of changing the calendar in the background. I love how there were so many panels that didn't even have text on them, but it was still so clear what was going on. I think this is a type of storytelling that only manga can do. It was just so cool. This story was absolutely amazing. I really loved Fujino. I thought I wouldn't like her at all at first because of her attitude, but it was so cool seeing her just dive in headfirst into creating manga, seeing her grow up, and seeing her change. I am so glad I was wrong about her. I also loved that brief but lovely and powerful first meeting between Fujino and Kyomoto. When I got to that moment in the manga, my heart stopped and I had to put the book down. I was genuinely left speechless. Even now, I still feel that I can't express my thoughts in a way that will do this manga justice. This story was just so tender, bittersweet, and hopeful. Those last few pages were some of the best pages I've ever experienced in a manga. I loved it so much. I did try reading Chainsaw Man a while ago and I couldn't really get into it then, but after reading Look Back, I want to read everything Fujimoto Tatsuki has ever created. Up next, I picked up Volume 1 of Those Not-So-Sweet Boys by Nogiri Yoko. I am a huge fan of another Nogiri manga, That Wolf Boy Is Mine. It's one of my favorite shoujo manga, and because I love it so much, of course I wanted to check out more of her works. It feels like it's been a while since I read a good old high school romance, so I was super excited to dive back into this fluffy, sparkly world. My favorite thing about this manga has got to be the protagonist Midori. She is so cute and sweet. I fell for her right away. And I'm honestly surprised that those not-so-sweet boys didn't immediately fall in love with her too. I just love that she's so hardworking, positive, and determined. She is so lovely and must be protected at all costs. What I didn't love was how she was basically coerced by the head of her school into helping these guys. But suspension of disbelief, right? We gotta get the plot rolling somehow. I think it's a testament to how good she is that she didn't let that display of authority get her down. Overall, I liked this volume a lot. I think it definitely itched that high school shoujo craving. If you have any shoujo manga recommendations, please let me know. I really want to read A Sign of Affection soon, so that will probably be the next shoujo I start. I also really want to try Nogiri's other manga, Love in Focus. I think that one is about photography, which sounds so cool. I also picked up the Heaven Official's Blessing manhwa art book by Star Ember, who is the illustrator. I made a separate video about this book a few weeks ago, but I am still awestruck by it. It's so beautiful and I feel so lucky to have it. Every day is a constant battle between me wanting to preserve the book and wanting to cut it up and hang the art on my walls. A little unhinged, I know. Last but certainly not least, I picked up the Taiwanese edition of Tattoo by Buwan Sanjo. Before the Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, before a lucky coin, there was Tattoo. Yep, this is the very first danmei novel that I ever read, and it left such a lasting impression on me. It was really refreshing and comforting following two characters already in their 30s. The two main characters are both so mature and charming, but still very playful. Their courtship was very sweet, which I really liked. I like this novel a lot because it was fairly realistic and relaxed in every sense. There weren't any bizarre or unrealistic plot points, no unnecessarily evil characters to try and break them apart. My only issue with the novel was that I wish it handled the topic of trauma just a bit better, like with more sensitivity from the characters. So not a perfect book, but one I still love a lot. Xiaoke, the main character, for example, is one of my absolute favorites. I'm glad I have a copy of this book in hand now. A mainland China edition also recently came out, and I did order that one too. And I can't wait to have that one in hand. And with that, we're at the end of this short and sweet haul. These books were pretty good if I do say so myself. Do you ever just look at all of the books you own and think, wow, this person has amazing taste? Because you do, and I do too. I really enjoyed all of the things I read this month. Hopefully I can buy more books in October, especially since I don't have scale figures and limited edition box sets to buy. As always, I hope you're safe, happy, and healthy. I hope you read something really good this month, and I shall see you again soon.